Mm. We are live and in living color. Yep.
I get it.
Yep.
I get that reference. Yes, in live and in living colors. Remastered.
Mm. Now, oh.
We're live, pal.
Right, that's the sharing done.
Uh-huh.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our review of WWE Survivor Series War Games 2023 from the Allstate Arena in Rosemont, Illinois, which is very close to Chicago. Yeah. We had a show with not a lot of matches, but we added one prediction onto it. And if my maths is correct, let me think. We both picked Gunther.
I can tell you that I only got 2 things wrong on this show.
Oh yeah, I know that. So the first there was the IC match, which we both predicted the right winner, but I had an Androzani, which gives you half a point and me 1 point. Then the women's world title match we both predicted correctly, and it was my Genesis. So that means that you would have 1.5, and I would have 3 points. Then we both predicted, even though the opponent changed, we both predicted the Santos match, which gives you 2.5 and me 4. Is that correct? Yeah. The women's War Games match, I predicted Damage Control, which was wrong. Did you choose?
I also did Damage Control.
Yeah. So we stay on you at 2.5 and me at 4. Then men's War Games, we both picked Team Cody and you had it as your Genesis. Which means for me, that puts me at 6, and that puts you at 6.5. Because you had a 4-pointer with that, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then the last prediction was, will CM Punk turn up? I said yes and made it my Androzani, which puts me at 7 and puts you at... Or what were you at again? Were you at 6.5? Puts you at 5.5.
So if I'm counting up right, 5.5. Okay, so half, 1.5, 2.5, 6.5, and then went to 6.
No, it goes down 1 for you.
No, it goes down 1. Oh, yeah.
So 5.5 for you. And was it 7 for me? I think
so. Because my Androzani was Gunther.
Yes. And that gave me half. I think. Oh, yeah, no, it would be, yeah. So it was half, 1.5, no, 2.5, then 3.5, then 4.5. Oh, no, just keep it on 3.5. Then it was 5.5. And then after that, it was 6.5. So it was me on 6.5 and you on 5.5. I think was the final result. And that all happened pretty
Mm.
much only because of what happened at the end of the show. Because if it wasn't for what happened at the last, 2 minutes of the pay-per-view, you would have won the title. You would have won the belt by getting that 4-pointer in the main event. But you didn't because a certain Chicago native returned on this show. Anyway, so I am still the champion and have been since SummerSlam. Shall we crack into initial thoughts on Survivor Series War Games 2023?
Yeah, I guess we should.
You go first.
I thought that this was a perfectly decent show with a pretty good opener and a very good ender, and some okay filler in between. That's sort of how I feel about the show overall. When I finished, I was like that. When I finished the main event, I was like, all right, that was fun. That was a good main event. I enjoyed it. Thought there was some really cool spots. Thought there was some really good dynamics that I really liked. The Randall Keith Orton return was very fun indeed. And he's swole. He's very swole. My God.
Mm.
Yeah, and I saw there was like 4 minutes left. So I was like, oh, maybe there'll be a Randy turn. Maybe, but it'd be pretty interesting.
I watched it
But it was
live.
panning out.
So I didn't know how long was left.
Yeah. Then the copyright logo came up, and I'm like, yeah. But they always do that, and sometimes there'll be something happening. It'll probably maybe a quick RKO or something, or maybe someone will appear. I'm not sure. And then Colt personality hits, and I'm generally screaming my fucking head off because I generally didn't believe it. I felt like I was in a fucking fever dream. I was literally, I finished the show, Punk came out, I'm screaming, I'm audibly saying, no fucking way, no, fuck, what the fuck, there's no way, over and over and over again for like 2 minutes. And then I was shaking for like 5 minutes after I finished the show. I was going up and down the stairs, I was shaking, I needed to sit down, I calmed down after half an hour. Yeah, it's certainly a moment. That's for sure.
It certainly is, and it's interesting because literally minutes before that, my friends came over yesterday to do something, and they came into my room and they were like, just like, oh yeah, so you're watching wrestling, and then immediately after they left, like 2 minutes after the match ended, and I was just like, okay, that was an okay show with a decent main event. That was enjoyable. The Randy Orton return was very fun and cheeky. The way he looked at the camera in his entrance, that was good, and he looked jacked. But yeah, when I just had this inkling when that remastered version of that song came out on streaming services, like the day before the pay-per-view, I was just like, now that is very good timing. But I'll wait and see if my prediction was correct, and then it was, and I absolutely lost my shit. I was just sort of in stunned silence. And I lie down when I watch a pay-per-view, but I sat up straight and like stared into the screen. And yeah, there's been a lot of great reactions online to this pay-per-view. That moment. A lot of shock and awe.
Yeah, it's a lot of shock. Thankfully I just didn't get spoiled at all because I watched half the show live and then I went to sleep and then watched the second. Pretty much I watched the last 2 matches. And yeah, I'm very glad I didn't get spoiled. I literally just wasn't on my phone for the last hour, and thank God I didn't, because generally I don't think I've been that heart-wrenchingly shocked by something in quite a while.
Yeah, Triple H did his signature NXT takeover swerve at the end of the show, basically, where They showed the copyright
Generally,
graphic.
I generally thought no. I literally had no thought whatsoever that Punk was going to appear. I literally was like, no, it's not happening. 0%, never happening.
And that means that all of those teasers on TV were true. They were all
They
true.
were. The first 2 weeks were true, and I think the last couple of weeks there has been a lot of. I think there has been a lot of reaching, to be quite honest. But they did tease it today on the pre-show. They did actually do that, which is they knew because as reported by Fightful, they hadn't even last morning in the morning they had not signed an actual contract yet. It was only done on the day of.
Yep.
And pretty much no one knew until probably just before the main event that Punk was going to come out at the end of the show.
he didn't enter the building until minutes before he came out.
I feel like fair play for WWE for keeping it actually like completely under wraps. Like it's actually the best kept secret in a lot of ways, even though a lot of people probably thought, yeah, I think he is coming back. They kept a good job in terms of reporting that there was like it probably wasn't going to happen and the start on the chain. And then it turns out, no, they actually had a deal in place and they actually did sign it.
They had to.
He came back.
They had to lie to the faces of people within the company to keep that secret.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's certainly a big moment. That's for darn sure. And I did freak out about it just for the sheer fact that I literally thought there was zero chance it was going to happen. Yeah. Yeah. And I think the last sort of like nearly 24 hours or so, there's been a lot of reaction, both online and in the arena, and from certain wrestlers. Yeah, it's it is crazy. It is.
Yep.
2023 is a very strange year.
Yep.
It's a very strange year.
How did we have David Tennant and CM Punk return on the same day?
Didn't Punk come back like the same week Russell came back? Or was it only a couple weeks later?
It was very close together.
It was around the same time. It was at least within the same month.
Yeah.
And everything that's happened with AEW, Punk, and now this has all happened from that to the first episode of the new year.
And during that entire period of time, Roman has been champion. Never lost the belt.
Yeah, even before that, way before that, like a year before.
Well, when Roman won the belt, CM Punk was still with WWE on the Fox show. That's how long it's been.
Yeah,
can you believe when Roman was the tribal chief and he first won the belt? CM Punk was on Skype or Zoom calls with Bryan Danielson and Renee Paquette on WWE programming. That's how long it's been since Roman won the belt.
Yeah. Yeah, fucking crazy. I think there's definitely a lot of people having a lot of opinions on this, and I think in terms of Punk himself, it's certainly, if you have certain thoughts about him, I think you definitely have confirmation of that. I'm just here for the chaos, to be quite honest. I think that the actual run that he's going to have will be good. It will be very intriguing storytelling. There'll be good matches. There'll be hype. There'll be everything because it's creative.
Just like in his first run, once again, he represents everything that is opposite to what this company is. He's talked shit about them for the last 2 years on TV.
Yeah.
You know? There's that promo he cut on MJF where he said, "Oh, you go main event night 4 of the buy one, get one free extravaganza, and I'll still be here waiting for you when you come back." The absolute irony of that. And there's a lot of potential. They can make him seem like a massive hypocrite as well for this. Like, if they really lean into that lore. There's a lot of potential, and Yeah, I'm very intrigued to see how much creative control he's allowed to have on WWE TV now. Because they're a lot more, they're a bit more of a tight ship when it comes to their storytelling. They seem the the talent don't have as much control. I mean, it is more they are more influential now than they were with Vince, but it's still quite a very controlled product. Whereas AEW seems to be Tony Khan's like, hey, here's the TV time, you get yourself over. Go out there and say whatever you want. And that's when you lead to stuff like, CM Punk going into business for himself against Hangman on Dynamite, which was not, that is not something you're going to get on this show, because if he does that, he's going to be like immediately fired probably, because that's a big no-no in the Fed.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the relationship might be a bit healthier, because it doesn't feel like WWE needs Punk. It's more the other way around.
No, they don't. These last year has proven that they don't need Punk. Yeah, all I can say is I guess we wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued in what they might do these next couple of months, because we've got Rumble coming up. The next pay-per-view is the Rumble, which I'm very intrigued what he's going to be doing there. Then we've got Mania 40 coming around in like 5 months' time, which is kind of crazy.
Surely he's facing Seth.
I feel like that has to be the match.
Also,
that's what they're going to be
also
doing.
What would be and honestly, don't be surprised if that main event's night 1.
I think it probably will.
Because both of those, I mean, technically Seth did do the cash-in at 31.
Punk is not going to come back if he's not guaranteed a WrestleMania main event. That's what he always wanted.
But the thing is, though, is that I feel like CM Punk is the kind of guy that he will only see it as the main event if it's night 2, though. He's probably that kind of person.
Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know how he thinks.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point he signed a 3-year deal. I wouldn't be surprised if he does main event Mania at some point. Like night 2, I mean. Yeah. I could see him facing Roman Reigns in a WrestleMania night 2 main event.
I could. I don't see that happening in the immediate future.
No, not at 40. It would either be 41 or 42, I think.
If we
yeah.
get there. I'm very intrigued what his promo tomorrow is going to be like. I'm really intrigued because when you look at old Punk promos from 2011 to 2014, and you compare it to the promos he cut in AEW, I feel like there are quite different. There are little minor differences in a way in terms of course, how both the companies run their production. So I'm very intrigued on what kind of promo he's going to cut tomorrow. If it's going to be in a way a rehash of the promo he cut on Rampage, but mixed in with the fact that he left sports entertainment, or if it's going to be a completely different thing.
It's hard to say because it's hard to say because it seems with WWE at the moment there's a bit of a mix of things. I think the closest they got to an AEW style promo was when in the build up to WrestleMania when Cody was having promos with like Paul Heyman and Sami Zayn and Roman. That's probably the closest they've been to that style, but it's still not as much of a work shoot as that. But it is CM Punk, and that he kind of popularized the modern work shoot as well. So that's, it will certainly be intriguing to see what they do in that regard. I'll tell you what he is probably going to do is bloody move the needle, because he's one of those people that attracts a cult.
He is. I'm not sure what the aim for Raw is going to be. Maybe we'll break 2 million.
Well, the ratings for WWE have been pretty high recently anyway, so it might not be that much different. But as I said before, with AEW, it always felt like Tony Khan was hesitant to punish Punk because he felt like business-wise he needed him for the numbers, and there is evidence to say that is true. But here, it feels like WWE is doing it because the fans want to see it, whereas they don't actually need Punk to be a successful company at a high level. You know, they could easily dispose of him and still be a really big company anyway. So it feels like almost they have a bit more control over Punk and a bit more authority over him than he had in AEW. But that said, that wouldn't stop Punk from doing what he wants anyway. He is one of those loose cannons where if he gets in a certain mood, he won't care who's in his way. Also, I do think it is a bit awkward that Chris Amon is still working for WWE as like a senior official, given that they sued each other in court.
Yeah.
9 years ago. Or however long ago it was. Maybe it was... Oh, no, I think it was shorter than that because it took them a couple of years.
It was like 7 years ago.
I think it was 2016 because it was right before his first UFC fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Weird to see CM Punk in WWE. Really strange.
It doesn't... generally the first couple of seconds of hearing that, it generally didn't feel real.
It's also like
it didn't feel real.
It's that same feeling of, you know, in Night of the Doctor, when it's not the Eighth Doctor from the TV movie, it's the big finish Eighth Doctor on screen. This is the AEW CM Punk in WWE.
He's grew his hair out a little bit as well.
Yeah, he has. He's looking good actually. He's looking jacked.
Yeah, that's what I feel like we said when he came back the first time. In AEW, he looks good. He looks healthy, and then it's a small decline in look.
I remember in a way. Yeah, well, obviously at the Brawl Out show, he was in fucking tatters. He looked horrific. By the time we got to the Collision episodes, I think he was getting in really good physical shape, but you could tell his face was quite tired.
Yeah.
Because you could tell he was still under a lot of stress, having to deal with all the backstage stuff. Which part of that is self-inflicted. To be fair, it's not all everyone else's fault. He is to blame as well. It's a mutual issue. But yeah, he's definitely looking refreshed for sure. He's had a good 2 months off doing the MMA commentary. Yeah. This dude, the MMA commentary is the funniest trolling thing he's done.
Whenever I see clips of that, it's very, very funny.
He did it after Brawl Out as well, and he came back.
Yeah.
But it is just strange to think, like, the last time we saw him in wrestling was at Wembley Stadium, and you were there.
I was fucking there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite crazy. When he left that match and beat Samoa Joe, I did not think the next time I'm going to see him in a wrestling capacity is WWE. Literally the last thing I was thinking. Never thought it once.
He's going to come out at Survivor Series War Games on the same night that Randy Orton returned to the ring in a War Games match.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure during the Wembley build-up, like, that was when they were saying Randy Orton might have to retire. It's so strange. What a crazy timeline we're in right now. I mean,
very strange.
I've been saying that ever since COVID started. Like, it's just, everything's so backwards. It just doesn't seem to end. Like, ever since COVID started, we've gotten so many strange things. Like, you think about bloody Roman Reigns. We're used to it now, but at the time in 2020, the idea of the big dog turning heel was unfathomable. The fact that Vince McMahon allowed Roman Reigns, his top guy, to turn heel was crazy. And there's just so many strange things that we've gotten since the pandemic that we're just in this weird backwards timeline, but it is quite chaotic and fun in a way. But yeah, anyway. So, God, should we go back to the start of the show and just sort of go through it?
Yeah. I guess, yeah. I don't think this is going to take massively amount of long time.
Well, we started with the women's War Games match, which was a fun time, I thought. The story wasn't overly complicated, but I think the parts
not that complicated, sure.
The parts for that were notable was that Becky and Charlotte have come to terms, you know, after they've had a lot of beef in the past. The other things I would say is that Shotzi got quite a big showcase in this match. you also had the spot where Io Sky jumped off the top of the cage with a trash can on her head, which
Yeah, that was cool.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I think she did it in NXT.
Right, yeah. And the other part to mention was that despite being on the heel team, Bayley actually had quite a big babyface performance in this match. Because she took a lot of it.
So the way that the advantage was actually settled was through a crisp sponsorship fan vote.
Oh yeah, that's stupid.
And because of course, because it's voted by filthy casuals, they voted for the babyface to have the advantage. Psychologically, that is fucked. And this match, the crowd obviously cheered for the heel team because of course they would. They're the ones with the disadvantage, and they're the ones all doing all the cool shit. Yeah, fucking sponsorships are best brand integrations of sponsorships. WWE always say.
Yep.
Yeah. So one thing I did like though, just in a little pro to that, they actually had the sponsorship graphics actually moving and not just still images.
And it was
a little bit more.
It was less egregious because they changed the way the sort of the Trons were set up on the stage, which I actually wanted them to do, and they did it. It wasn't that stupid fucking square.
Very minimalist, which I liked.
Yeah, I've been so sick of that bloody square they've been using since COVID started. It's the ugliest, most boring looking Titantron like ever. I've always hated it.
Yeah,
the fact
I think I hate the slope one more. I think the slope one just.
Jesus, I forgot about that one. That was the one where MVP returns.
But this one's just only slightly better because it's not a slope.
Yeah, but I mean, I just always hated that whole thing of like they just had this big square on a wall with a flat floor. It just looks really, for a company that's supposed to be big budget, it looks so cheap. But they've done.
The stages they had for they did in 2016 to just before the pandemic was those stages were neat. They were different. Both
I was always
have very different sets.
I know they haven't they are a product of their time, but the early HD sets are very charming in a way. I guess the first one might look a bit garish now because I had that massive block at the top of it. But I remember when Raw 1000 happened, they changed the stage and it had that sort of symmetrical 3 striped panel on the sides. I always liked the little curvy tunnel at the bottom though, under the Titantron. The issue though is that these days they don't make Titantrons the same way. They don't have the the wrestling moves in the video. It's just graphics.
It's just graphics, which is quite lame.
Yeah, but, the reason, I think the reason why they do that is because the Titantrons get very easily outdated. When they get repackaged or things happen or whatever. And it's just cheaper to just have graphics, I suppose. But anyway, in terms of the Women's War Games match, it was a fun time. It's obviously not as the WWE War Games matches aren't as gruesome as the ones I've seen. I've seen the WCW and the AEW ones, with the blood and guts. So it's not as violent in terms of an external way, but it's more about the sort of storytelling, I guess. And I think the story they told was fine outside of what you explained about how the heel team had the disadvantage. I maybe you could say in a slightly redeeming way, despite the fact that Damage Control are heels, they are quite popular.
They are. But if you literally swap it over, I think then the baby faces actually do get cheered.
When you look at who's in that, you look at Io Sky, Kairi Sane, and Asuka are all so cool that it's hard to hate them.
Their entrance was was very sick. I loved that
Yeah,
entrance.
I loved when Kairi Sane was entered the War Games match and she did that little skip to the ring. That was so
She
funny.
hit. Is that a motherfucking AJ Lee reference?
Possibly. Imagine.
It definitely wasn't, but I
No.
just that's quite funny. Yeah. There were some really good spots in this. I actually really like what they did with Bailey in terms of the story they told, where she was constantly actually saving pins. She was doing the most effort in the last couple of minutes, but she ate the pin. So going forward, I think that was a very, very good finish. I was very into that. Very good story.
Hmm.
Like we referenced, I really thought the Io Sky trash can spot was amazing. I thought that was great.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Fucking
I
Bianca
have
Belair had fucking 2 braids as weapons.
I've really loved how the major companies are starting to, in the last few years, they've really embraced Joshi wrestling because it was an untapped market for a long time, and I think around the time that NXT got taken over by Triple H and they brought in Asuka, that kind of really started to change things around. And then obviously, with AEW, Kenny Omega is a big fan of Joshi wrestling, and that's all part of it as well. But that's something that was for a long time was very underfeatured, and now it's a main event level angle on a pay-per-view. So that's quite good to see. But yeah, I thought that Io Sky and Kairi Sane specifically were really fun in this match.
Mm-hmm.
They are just like such great athletes. And I think Kairi seems to have like a new sort of coat of paint actually. She was already great in her first run, but I actually feel like she's kind of slightly reinvented herself a bit since when she went to Stardom, and she's come back with a whole new character in a way. Very good, like sort of visual storytelling and like ring awareness.
One thing I thought was very brutal was Kairi saying with the lid of a trash can, absolutely Judas affecting Shotzi like crazy. It looked very, very gnarly.
Yeah, Shotzi took a lot of hits in this one.
She did.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think in terms of character, one of the only things they did not do anything with though was Bianca. She's just the same as she's always been, and that annoyed me because there's so much potential with her. I guess they wanted to put more focus on Becky and Charlotte, but there's so much on the table with Bianca. And also, I loved the whole thing with Dakota Kai on the outside. How Io Sky had that chain and she fed her the garbage can. I just think it's a shame that Dakota's injured because I would have loved to seen her in this match as well.
Dakota Kai is always great.
Yeah, if it was 5-on-5, like the men's match. Who do you think would have been on the babyface team if Dakota Kai was in this match?
God, I don't know. There's not really another babyface women's wrestler who's on that same sort of level as the other 4.
On SmackDown?
Yeah.
They squeezed Shotzi in there. They managed to find a way.
I think, that's very, very, very true. Yeah. But, yeah, I thought this match was perfectly fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, perfectly fun stuff.
Yeah.
As
I think it's just becoming very apparent just that Charlotte Flair's enthusiasm and effort is been a very big highlight of this year.
She did a moonsault off the cage.
She did, and Michael Cole went, "No way! No freaking way!"
Oh god, yeah. Michael Cole had some really rough commentary on this show, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh. He's
But yeah, that was the opener, and I thought it
yeah.
was pretty fun.
It was quite
We also then
short.
had R-Truth's return, as you mentioned
Well, before
earlier,
you get to
which
that,
was
I
I
was just
thought
gonna
was very
say,
fun.
for a War Games match, this felt quite short to me.
Both of them felt quite short, I would
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
because this show's under 3 hours.
I mean, maybe it's because I'm used to these matches going like an hour. Like, I'm used to
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm. This is a really short show, really,
Mm.
for like modern wrestling standards.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, do
Which
you
I'm not
reckon
complaining.
they... I mean, I'm not complaining either, but do you think that they could have gotten away with a 4-hour pay-per-view?
I don't think so on a 5-match card. I know both of them are war games, but I would imagine. I think both of them could have used maybe an extra 10 minutes. I think if you're extending them, I wasn't that bothered about if they did it.
What about a 3.5-hour show?
Yeah, I think they could have done 3.5 hours if they
Mm.
really wanted to.
Yep. They could have put a tag team match in the show.
Yeah, they could have possibly.
Mm. But I guess the Undisputed Champions are in the War Games match, so maybe that... I guess a women's tag team match. How about that?
Yeah. Mm.
Who are the champions? Is it Chelsea Green and someone?
Chelsea Green and Piper Niven.
That's right. Yeah,
They're doing some fun stuff.
Yeah, they are. They are. I think this War Games match, once again, it repeats the thing we've been saying for months about how the SmackDown Women's Division is just so much better than the Raw one.
At the moment, yes.
Yeah. Indeed. Although technically Becky is on the Raw team, but whatever. She's part of the Raw roster. But they're trying to keep her away from Rhea Ripley for as long as possible. They gave her that NXT run, and now she's teaming with SmackDown. But yeah, as you said, they had a Ruffles ad with the women's tag team champions. They had bloody Alpha Academy, and then they had what is it? Oh, they're Pretty Deadly. That's what they're called.
Pretty Deadly. Yeah, I love Pretty Deadly. They're great.
Yeah, and then R-Truth returned for the first time since he got injured in that NXT match. That was a while ago. That was like near the start of 2.0, wasn't it? If I remember correctly.
I think so. I can't remember. Yeah, it has been a long while.
Is this the first time?
Trips obviously made that joke on the press conference when he came and was like talked about, oh, how about that turn? R-Truth. It was just that was very funny.
Yeah, although it's interesting though because R-Truth and CM Punk do not like each other. So
oh, yeah.
R-Truth in interviews has been very negative about CM Punk. He's like saying that he thinks he's bigger than he is, but he's actually like he is that big though. Did you hear that fucking?
Yeah, did you hear that?
Did you hear that Stone Cold Steve Austin level reaction?
Like they're the Punk return clip. It's like what on 2 million views nearly.
There's a small handful of guys in the business that can create that much buzz.
Yeah. Yeah, the Punk return clip is on 2.9 million views.
Yep.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers Discovery created an entire 2-hour show because they wanted to have CM Punk on the TV. I'm pretty certain that's where the idea for Collision came from, because it wasn't a Tony Khan idea. It was a Warner Brothers Discovery idea to have Collision. And I'm almost certain it's because they're like, well, if we want CM Punk on the shows, I guess you're just gonna have to make a new show to have that so you can have him on it. Because this guy is money. What was it? One Bill Phil?
One Bill Phil.
David Zaslav called him. I bet David Zaslav is hearing about Survivor Series and he's absolutely pissed off about it that he lost that guy. But let's be honest, a lot of that, as much as we love Punk as a performer, as a talent, a lot of that is his fault though. He made the choice to, deal with his issues with violence. That was his choice. He as a 45-year-old professional, he could have chosen not to do that. We also had they did a thing throughout this show of saying, oh, Randy's not going to turn up, and all of Cody's teammates were doubting it, and there was a bit of tension between them.
I was actually really into this in terms of from Jay's perspective, because obviously he's the one, along with the Bloodline, that took him out in kayfabe. So I was actually really into the fact that he was feeling very paranoid about it. But then I liked post show. There's clips online of them just having chats in the ring, and it's in the actual match they sort of mended their issues seemingly. So
yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna have Randy Orton be a babyface, you have to have him be a bit of a loose cannon, because he is one of those guys where it's like, yeah, he may be on your side now, but just watch yourself. He can turn on you at any point if you are not in his best interest. And that's when, and I mean, we'll get to it later, but I love it when Randy Orton looks like he's having fun. That's when he's at his best.
Oh yeah, it's heavily entertaining.
Yeah, because there was a period of time.
Did you see? Have you rewatched the clip of when they all do the vintage DDT?
Yes, I did.
Just fucking being absolutely insane and bonkers.
Because there was a period of time in the mid 2010s when he looked like he was bored every time he came out, and it was just like,
I think probably from 2008 to 2015, 2014, where he just, no one really cared about Randy.
Oh no, he was. I would disagree with it being that early, because he was one of the best guys in the company in 2009. That was when he did the angle where he punted Vince in the head.
True.
And there was a few moments in 2010 you had the Evan Bourne RKO. In 2011 he had the feud with Christian, which was quite good. And also his feud with Daniel Bryan in 2013 was well done as well. But there was a lot of that time around sort of 2012 to about 2019 where it looked like he just didn't give two shits about what he was doing. And then once it got to 2020 and he had that promo with Edge, it's suddenly like a light bulb just switched, and something with Randy Orton was just different to everything we'd seen before. And then obviously he had the tag team with Matt Riddle, which really reignited his passion. And you can see he was having so much fun. And obviously Matt Riddle's no longer with the company, but Randy Orton seems to actually be having a lot of fun. And I bet he's really chuffed that he didn't have to retire. And he's coming back on the show and he can actually do his thing. And also, it's probably great because now Triple H is head of creative and he's got a whole new thing to work with. Because if I remember correctly, has Randy Orton worked under Triple H yet?
Nope. That was before Vince left.
That's right. He got injured when Vince was still there. So this is something that we haven't seen yet, is what he's like under Triple H creative.
And he is swole. He is bulked
oh my God,
up,
yes. And obviously, Randy Orton and Triple H are really close. So I imagine that the creative with Randy, he'll probably have a bit more, sort of input on what he wants to do. I mean, Vince McMahon was always a big fan of Randy anyway, but Vince just wants control over every fucking little spasm of his work.
He did. Yes, he did.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to...
Should we get to the second match on the card?
Yeah, sorry. There's just all of the most interesting stuff on the show happened at the very end.
In the last, 10 minutes.
Yeah. So we had Gunther versus The Miz, which they were telling a story about who's the greatest IC champ. Obviously, they referenced Chris Jericho in this match, which was interesting.
Oh yeah, I heard that they referenced Chris Jericho on comms.
Yeah, they did. Because he's held it 9 times.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Now this match was
pretty neat.
This match was exactly what I predicted, though. You have a 5-star wrestler and a 2.5-star wrestler together. Therefore, it's basically 3 1/4 stars.
I thought for what they wanted to tell, they told it probably as best as they could.
Yep.
I thought this match was pretty decent.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like a average Gunther match is a absolute classic of a Miz match,
Yeah.
realistically,
Yep.
which is the best way to put it. So yeah, I think in terms of they wanted to go for and what they achieved, I thought, yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm perfectly happy with this. I'd like a big fight now with Gunther because I think we've kind of been starved for like a big match for a while.
Yeah, I just think
For the last, like, 2 months.
they wanted to get this one done because it's a story to tell, you know. And if you're going to give him a
Mhm.
filler feud, it's one where there's an actual context to it. The only issue is that, firstly, as you say, the Miz in the ring is not on Gunther's level. He can't match his intensity. And the other thing,
Not as close.
the other thing about it is that the Miz doesn't really work that well as a babyface as well. It just doesn't.
I will say though, crowd were on his side. I think what the material they've given him, I think, has worked in his babyface run so far.
You do. I think the one thing that I was happy about is they didn't do what they tried to do with him in 2013 by having him actually wrestle like a babyface, because that does definitely not work. Like when he
Yeah, it
was
doesn't
doing,
fit him.
you know, back
No.
then when he was doing the bloody figure four leg lock and he was trying to, you know, get the crowd on his side. That doesn't. Whereas they still maintained his like his vicious side, that, you know, his I will do anything that it takes to win, and that is consistent with his character. It's just that
Yeah.
he's, he's not he's not being disrespectful in doing so as much as he was. The irony of it is that I think the Miz was actually more underhanded than Gunther was, but the reason why Gunther's the heel is because he's a bully and he's a massive asshole about it. But yeah, you know, decent story told, decent match, served its purpose.
Yeah.
I did
he
like
won with a lion tamer.
Yeah, he
That's what
did.
thought it was.
I liked the spot though, because they've been trying to do this thing where now that Mrs. Babyface, they do this thing where he's like, I can do a springboard crossbody. Look at me.
Yeah, look at me. I can do all the high flying stuff.
Yeah, so he
Very
tried.
awkwardly, as if I was John Cena, really.
Yeah. So
In the way moves.
he tried to do a springboard axe handle, and Gunther just booted him in the face.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Gunther is just he is just the best.
Yeah, and I don't think this was definitely one of the less brutal Gunther matches, though. He probably didn't hit the Miz as hard, because the Miz doesn't match Gunther as much as the other guys do, so Gunther doesn't feel the need to give him receipts. Whereas when he gets in there with guys like Sheamus and Drew, like, they hit him hard as well, so they sort of bounce off each other and Gunther ramps it up, you know, depending on who his opponent is. I thought Gunther's like crowd taunting was quite good in this match, though. Like the way he was being very cocky about look how pathetic he is, and then the Miz would surprise him, and then by the end of the match, Gunther actually looked a little bit tired, which worked in his favor.
That's the whole thing. He was completely had no respect, underestimating him like massively.
Yeah, and I just love it how
just slightly.
Miz like throws his entire body at Gunther to try and dismantle, and then Gunther just chops him in the solar plexus, and he flips over.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was perfectly fine.
Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do with the Miz now, though. I guess a Grayson Waller feud.
Well, they're on separate brands at the moment, so.
Yeah, but at WrestleMania, though. I mean, I'm sure they're going to have a face-up in the Royal Rumble match. That wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, this was fine.
Yeah.
We had a to be the opposite of what the babyface team did. We had a meeting of the Judgment Day backstage, where they were all kind of chuffed that they don't like. It's either Randy Orton doesn't turn up and we have an advantage, or Randy Orton turns up and he screws them over because he's a Viper. And I have to say, Finn Balor was really fun on this show. I always
Finn Balor's always fun. He's just such a fucking character when he's a heel.
But I feel like, especially on the pay-per-views, I feel like he just looks like he's having such a great time.
He just his noise is just he's like as if he's honing in his like inner Seth Rollins Waluigi noise.
Well, I've always seen him. I mean, I mentioned this when they won the belts on I think it was Fastlane.
Payback. No, Fastlane, yeah.
Yeah, Fastlane. Finn Balor reminds me of like a greedy pirate in the Judgment Day.
Yeah. We got all the gold.
Yeah, which is kind of ironic because this group is supposed to be this really scary gothic thing.
Yeah, but they're all massive dorks, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like this sort of that he puts a blend of he sort of integrates. It's not as sort of main event level or as serious, but well, technically it is main event level. But he kind of brings back some of that cheekiness he had when he was leader of Bullet Club in New Japan. Is that sort of, you know, it's all very ironic and very winky. But yeah, we'll get more to the Judgment Day later because the more interesting stuff happens at the end of the show. So the next match was Santos Escobar versus Dragon Lee, which originally was scheduled to be. Well, Rey Mysterio got a legit injury, and then Carlito was supposed to be in this match, and then he got taken out of it on SmackDown, and then replaced with Dragon Lee, which is big for him because he literally got signed recently, and he was, you know, part of that NXT sort of system. Very interesting match. This is a match I would not see Vince McMahon booking in a million years. Like this early into his career.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they did it though.
This definitely felt
other than giving Santos a win on pay-per-view, which you know is good. I'm not sure why they just didn't do the Carlito match, unless there is a backstage reason as to why. Where if he's
this
injured
definitely
or
felt
like
this
this
definitely felt like a SmackDown match for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have much notes on it. It's not a lot I remember from it.
The best thing about it was the video package. The video package was great.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because I think what they've done with Santos' character, I think has been very interesting. It's something that I'm very into.
Yeah. You know,
I just wish this match was against Carlito.
He's been with bloody Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde for a long time. They were together in NXT Black and Gold.
Yep.
I remember they had that handicap street fight with Karrion Kross. That was a great little fun match. That was. That's you see gifs of that quite a bit actually. It's the one where he throws. It's during the pandemic and he throws them through that steel wall. But yeah, the video package was great, and then the match was fine. It was like a fine TV match to just sort of put a highlight on Santos' heel turn, get him a definitive win. I think again, as you said, it would be more meaningful if it was Carlito. But maybe there's a reason for that they've postponed that match. I don't know why. I anticipate we'll probably get, if I had to hazard a guess, we're probably going to get Santos versus Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania. That's my guess. But that's a long, long way away. Assuming that Rey can recover from his injury, of course. But yeah, I think it's probably fair to say this was the least notable thing on the show.
Yeah, yes, I would say so.
What do we think of I just want to quickly mention what do we think about Nick Aldis so far in WWE as a SmackDown GM?
I think he's been great. I really enjoy his presence.
Yeah. I do want to see him wrestle though.
At some point, yes, please.
Yeah. Because he's got a lot of charisma, Nick Aldis. Oh, just give me a quick second. I'm getting a phone call. Just see what it is.
Nice. Oh my god, I'm doing this live and getting a phone call. Oh my god.
Oh, I'm all right. I'm just currently in the middle of something. Sorry. Do you mind? Oh, can you call me back in like maybe a few hours? Is that possible? All right, thanks. Bye. It was just my doctor. Yeah. Anyway, so where were we? Bloody Santos and Dragon Lee. There was an ad for Deadline. There was an ad for Slim Jim. They did a new ad with LA Knight for Slim Jim, which was his contribution on this show.
They did. They also had. Did they have like Newgate come out in a Slim Jim car?
Yeah, they
stealing
did.
Like Knight's gimmick.
which I think they've done before, haven't they? With the New Day. I can't remember. But yeah, they did.
It does ring a bell. Yeah.
But yeah, they did steal Knight's gimmick, the car.
Yeah.
I just to mention, fucking, I've always said this that he's the best
Oh,
part of the.
one detail I did like though that I just know because I have the pay per view up right now.
So do I.
Drew and Priest were actually in the background chatting to each other.
Yep, that was
That's
cool.
quite neat.
I like that sort of depth. I always mention this
Yeah.
that Cody is the best thing about the press conferences. I think this press conference, it's one of his best ones he's done so far. When he came out and he did a full-on parody of Triple H wearing the glasses and reading off the we've done these numbers, we are so happy, and then at the end he snaps into a Slim Jim. That was fucking hilarious. Cody is so funny. Is that like you said before? He's that funny boomer. Anyway, so yeah, the Slim Jim ad was there, and then after that, we got the women's world title match, where they also announced that. Oh no, sorry, that was in the past. It was between Rhea Ripley and Zoe Stark, which uniquely, this is something that you don't get too often. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe this was a heel versus heel match.
It was a heel versus heel match, yes.
Yep, but I think the dynamics are interesting enough because obviously, despite the fact that Rhea's a heel, she's very over because of the Judgment Day and her being so cool. And also, Zoe Stark has a rebellious energy, and she turned on Trish, who is also heel.
Yeah.
And they're both really good athletes. So there was still heat in this match, despite the fact that it was heel versus heel. But I was quite impressed that they utilized that dynamic. And given the lack of depth in the Raw women's division, they probably needed to do this. Because the babyface women on Raw are so mediocre.
Yeah, unfortunately, the crowd were very much mostly into Rhea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a match that you absolutely could do. I just don't think the crowd is that into Zoe Stark at this moment in time, unfortunately.
Yeah, they just haven't had the time to build up their loyalty yet. But I thought Zoe Stark did a pretty good job. I think she has quite
she looked good.
She has quite a unique moveset. There's that corkscrew somersault she does over the ropes that's quite interesting. And they, in terms of character wise, they both have a brutal edge to them. But it's not as egregious, but like we've said before with the Rhea Ripley pay-per-view matches, is that her opponents are just so beneath her. Especially like when we had the Raquel match, she's just so beneath her. And
that's the issue with this reign at the moment. The
division around Rhea is just so weak by comparison.
This reign is not great, unfortunately. It's not really felt like it's got going, and we're at the end of the year.
I mean, if they were able to build up Shayna Baszler to like the height of her powers, like in NXT, I think that would be great.
Yeah, but no one believes for a second that she's going to lose the title.
Yeah, that's true. Until at least WrestleMania. Once she's
exactly, and that's sort of the pain of the issue there.
Once Rhea Ripley is going against Becky Lynch, then we can actually get invested in it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the issue, is that I don't feel like her matches are elevating anybody in a way, and her feuds aren't elevating anybody, which is kind of the issue of this reign. Yeah,
I mean, I've said this before, but WWE losing Sasha Banks and Naomi has really fucked up the depth of the women's division in terms of believable challenges. And they've shifted a lot of the best ones to SmackDown. And it's also the fact that Rhea is so heavily featured on the TV show. It's not a bad problem to have when she is just so good at everything that she rises above everyone else and she's so dominant, but it doesn't have the same kind of appeal that like a Gunther has. Because Gunther being dominant over everyone it seems to work in a lot of cases, whereas in Rhea Ripley's case, it doesn't seem to work as much. And they're putting sort of all their eggs in one basket. But in ring, I thought this was a decent match. And it's, it's helping Zoe sort of put her in, that like sort of upper echelon of the division already, which is, it's very early into her run. So that's nice for her going forward. But yeah, this, again, it was a fine match.
Mm-hmm.
And Rhea Ripley is one of the coolest characters in the WWE.
She is.
Yep, there was more tension with the babyface team as Cody is concerned about Randy not turning up. This is obviously all a setup. And then we got the men's War Games match, which I definitely thought was match of the night by quite some distance. There was quite a few things I loved about this match, but I think one of my favorite performances of this whole show was Drew McIntyre.
I thought Drew was great.
Drew on this show, obviously he's just been repackaged as a heel, or as a sort of a more justified heel. His tension with Damian Priest was really, really well done. The way they just sort of faced off and stood at each other for a while. The way that they had to work together. The fact that Drew wanted to walk out and beat up Jey Uso for what he did at Clash at the Castle. Which was justified, because he actually, like, you know, the bloodline actually did screw Drew for real. And Priest saying, no, we have to stick to the plan. Priest goes first. It was a really interesting dynamic to see. I do think, though, it was funny how, like, you had the three other members standing behind them and Dom is trying to look really hard and cool and he's just not.
Yeah.
He's the scrappy dude of the Judgment Day.
He pretty much, yeah.
JD McDonough took a lot of bumps.
He did.
He took that massive RKO from the cage.
He very much, yeah, he did, and that would have sucked to take.
Yeah. The crowd was hot for this match, especially for Dom.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, Dom is he's absolutely one of the most improved wrestlers of the year, by far.
Yep.
He's really coming to his own this year.
Yeah. And I liked, by contrast, with the tension between McIntyre and Priest, on the other end you had Cody and Sammy and Jay all working together really well and sort of being on the same page. It's funny because with Priest and McIntyre, it's like, I want to go out. No, we're going to stick to the plan. I'm going out. Whereas with Cody and Sammy, it's just like, do you want to go? Do you want to go? No, be my guest. You go.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this match was pretty darn good.
Yep. They also did in terms of respecting continuity, they had Seth and Cody on each other's sides for one night.
They did, yes.
Put aside their differences.
One night only.
This is what I love about Triple H, and this is something that Vince barely ever did, was he respects the continuity of the babyface and heel turns that have happened. And he's still, like, despite the fact that they've changed, these two people still have beef from the past, and they don't forget it. I hated when Vince was booking, he would just have them forget their beef out of convenience.
Exactly, yeah.
But it actively makes it less interesting. Like, it's so much better when you still acknowledge the fact that these people have a past and they have to work together.
Yeah, definitely. I think that continuity is very important for when you want to invest yourself in it.
Yeah, I've spat it off. You give some thoughts on this War Games match.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty darn fun. I thought there were some really great spots. I thought Jay, especially, I think looked great when he came in. He's still very much over as a top guy. I think obviously pulled off some really very akin to The Rock in some aspects in his moveset. I thought the use of weapons they all used, I thought was very, very cool. You know, there was like a bell rope thing that they used to
that was a reference to Dusty Rhodes. That was great. I love that.
Yeah, it was great. It certainly jeweled Finn Balor for sure.
Yep, for sure.
And there was like a nightstick, you know, in ode to a boss man.
That's right.
Buddha Man.
Yeah. One thing I will say is I remember during the tag title run with Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, his momentum definitely dropped after Mania. But I feel like ever since Jay has come to Raw, I think Sami has been on a bit of he's come back up a bit again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think I would definitely agree with that.
It's really nice to see.
Because it's less it being more of like a tag team, it's more of them being big individual stars.
I mean,
like
I don't think he's ever going to have the same momentum that he did like he did when he was in the Road to WrestleMania this year. Like that is a once in a lifetime.
Not for long, not for at least a while. Yeah.
Yeah, that is like a once in a lifetime kind of over that you can only really capture with a really good angle. But he is definitely being more featured in a positive way now, and that is great to see.
Definitely.
And that sort of trifecta of Cody, Sammy, and Jay, who all were part of the Bloodline story earlier this year, it's really good to see that connection, like playing over, and sort of uniting against Judgment Day.
Yeah, definitely, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I
think Seth was also there.
Yeah, he was. I actually quite like Dom Mysterio's attire with the black and white. I thought that looked quite cool.
Oh yeah, I thought all of Judgment looked good.
Now they did a Money in the Bank tease. Rhea Ripley came out with a briefcase for Damian Priest.
Yes, they did.
Because he just put Seth through a table. And now I thought this was a great little twist. And of course, that leads to Randy Orton coming out and subverting it.
Yeah. What would have happened if he did cash in? Does this then become a War Games match for the world title when it gets the belt?
That is a curious question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued in what I would like to have seen that pan out and see what would happen.
Or does it create like
they're going to do? Explain that.
Does it create like a second match on the side? It's a singles match on the side.
Second match on the side. It's just very funny to think about. Like, does it become a championship scramble or something?
Oh my god. But yeah, Randy Orton came out and he's like, this is one of the most fun, excited versions of Randy I've ever seen.
It's very classic star jump kind of Randy Orton.
Yes, and in terms of babyface Orton, that is the best Randy Orton in terms of his
Orton, he was very unserious.
Yeah, he's just having fun, and at that age, after like 21 years of being in the ring, that's all you can hope for, really.
I've got him on the screen now. Just fucking hell, he's fucking massive. Jesus.
Yeah,
Christ.
he's huge. That is actually one of the upsides of when you have an injury is that you get to go to the gym every day and get massive.
Like his arms and back are fucking massive. They're as big as Raquel Rodriguez. Jesus Christ.
But that's what you gotta understand about these guys, especially the main event guys, is that when they're out and they're like their career is like in question, they get so motivated that they just get in the gym and they just pump it because they just like, I will not let my career die.
It reminds it's like when Dean came back at SummerSlam, he was absolutely jacked.
It's the same thing as when CM Punk came back on Collision earlier this year. He looked so jacked. And it's the same thing as when Edge came back in 2020 at the Rumble. He was ripped. Like he had six-pack abs and everything. Oh, and one thing I loved about this match was the callback to 2020 with Randy and Drew, because they had that title feud in the pandemic.
They did have that feud. They did reference that, yeah.
Yeah, that was great. And the roles are reversed now, because now Randy's the babyface and Drew's the heel, which is great.
Splinter Cell Randy Orton.
But yeah, just Randy Orton was it's weird because he used to be one of the most stale wrestlers ever, and now he feels he
did. Now these last couple of years, he just feels like so much more interesting.
Now he feels like the breath of fresh air that WWE needed. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, Raw is desperate need of that kind of vibe, really.
Yeah, and now that you got not only Randy Orton but CM Punk, like it's like holy shit. There's a lot.
2011 all over again.
Yeah, because Cody was the IC champ back then as well.
Well, yeah, and Randy and Punk faced at Mania that year.
Yeah, and they were the world champs that year too.
Yeah.
Crazy times.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they both were at the same time. Yeah.
All they need to complete the set is to bring back Zack Ryder.
No, have a run in from Del Rio.
No, double prick.
One thing I did like when the match ended, and I really liked the finish of the match. One Crossroads. I made it. I had a mental note of that. It was
I thought of you when I saw that.
Yeah. One Crossroads. I'm like, yes, thank you.
That's right.
Thank you, Cody. Just one is enough. He just hit.
Cody watches our reviews.
If he genuinely hit him with 3 Crossroads, I genuinely would have been so fucking...
Yeah, because imagine how awkward it would be if they're all just standing around watching him do that.
Exactly! That's why it's so awkward when he does it 3 times every time.
Yep. Yeah, how do we feel about Priest being the one that gets pinned?
I think for narrative reasons, I think that's very interesting.
Especially
Considering he was
because,
the leader.
yeah, that's the thing, right? Is that he claimed to be the leader of Judgment Day, and he was the one that was beaten. So that might tie into something interesting.
It's pretty much the same finish as the women's one.
So two things. So firstly, Randy Orton and JB on the same team was interesting because obviously they have beef from the past because the Bloodline took out Randy. And on top of that, one thing that was really fun was Dominic Mysterio getting hit with an RKO. That was very fun. Then they did like the big sort of like the Cody Cutter, the Uso Splash, and then JD McDonough was the last man standing, and he got absolutely demolished.
Certainly.
Yep. But yeah, what a fun match. Especially like the second half. The second half, once you got more guys in there.
Once the match actually started, I think it's like, those cuts, like 10 minutes was very fun.
But really, what this match really is a demonstration of is an ability to remember continuity and to tie all these characters together who have had previous beef. That's what I loved about it. There was one moment, though, that was quite funny, how people thought Sammy was going to climb to the top, but he just pulled the lead pipe out from the side of it. And then when they set up JD for the RKO and Randy looks to the crowd, it's like the most comic book cartoon like wink setup. And he just looks around, licks his lips, and cranks his neck. He's like, "All right, here we go." I would have imagine if he had actually done a star jump after that. That would have been hilarious.
Again, this final shot when the trademark copyright comes up, and you have the fade out shot when they're zooming out from the cage, like looking at the whole crowd, is like, that you convince yourself, oh yeah, that's it, that final shot, and then the song hits, and then the graphics come up. One thing we actually didn't know is it's the same graphics of when he had in 2011 to when he left.
Yep,
exact
same graphics.
They had that all saved in the files, in the hard drives.
In the Jedi archives. One other thing I'll also say about this match is I liked what they did at the very end, where it's all about, you know, how Randy Orton and Cody were both in Legacy, and the finish of the match was a visual passing of the torch.
Yeah, that was cool. I actually really liked I really liked in the promo package, like the use of like when they announced Randy. Like in the promo itself, like I thought that was really cool. The editors at WWE are always the best.
The only really awkward thing about bringing up Legacy is that Ted Jr. is currently in jail.
We don't need to know. It was just Cody and Randy. It was just Cody and Randy who were the important people.
The fact that the $1 million man and his son were ironically laundering millions of dollars. Anyway, but yeah, the passing of the torch from Randy to Cody was great, and obviously the CM Punk return. It's a cliffhanger that makes people want to watch Raw for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like we said, the video of his return and the clip of his return is like pretty much on 3 million views now.
It might not be as
in 24 hours.
It's not as like sensational in terms of the way it was done.
No,
but the fact that you had Randy and Punk return at the same time, it kind of reminded me a bit of Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson from All Out. Yeah, it did.
In a sense, it is sort of a similar thing. Yeah.
Though the thing is, though, we expected Randy and we were told he was going to return, whereas with Adam Cole, it was an absolute swerve.
Yeah.
The only clue.
Well, it was the lights go out, everyone thinks it's going to be Danielson, and then it was Cole, and then Danielson comes out.
Yeah, the only clue we had with that is if you watched NXT TakeOver 36, Adam Cole, quote-unquote, died on that show. Oh, and I loved a callback to the last year's War Games match. At the end of the match, Jay and Sammy did the handshake.
Yeah.
That was a great little callback to the Bloodline.
It was, yeah. Very cool stuff.
But man,
I don't know if this was actually actual show, but I did like Punk waving and Randy waving back. I don't know if that was at the same time, but there were clips around where both of them waved and Randy, as the music was played, just waved back. You can tell Randy's like, yeah, I'm into this. Yeah, whatever. Well, I don't care.
Well, that's because Randy and Punk were in the locker room around the same time, and they are both like, in terms of backstage behavior, they're both very similar.
Yeah.
I guess the difference is that Randy Orton's kind of wrestling royalty. He's a third generation superstar, and he also fits the mold of Vince's vision. So he was a lot more like handed his position.
You know what? I just thought this. Yeah. We missed it by a couple of weeks, but now whenever Cena comes back, he can actually reference Punk properly.
Yeah.
And not just vaguely talk about him in promos.
Oh yeah, the next time that Cena and Punk are in a ring together, the crowd's gonna love it.
I definitely want to see that. I don't give a fuck. I generally do want to just see him in the ring together, not actually wrestle, but just a promo. I'd be into that.
Yeah, or even just like if Cena was in the Royal Rumble match and they faced off with each other, that would be huge.
That would be cool. I would be into that.
Yeah,
because why not? Come on.
But man, that moment when CM Punk looks at the ring and he does that smirk he does, it was just, there's something about this guy. This guy has...
You can't keep your eyes off him.
He has this unexplainable charisma that is just unlike anyone else. He has that same thing that
we actually haven't talked about it. But the last, very, very, very last shot of the show is Punk orgasming. I got it in my bookmarks on Twitter. And
I love the symbolism of the fact that after the show he sat cross-legged on the stage. That was so good.
That's cool.
And then
he also, I saw the clip just before we went live.
I just saw that shot. CM Punk did the fucking Kurt Angle TNA's thing. He's like, yeah.
One thing that also I saw only just a couple hours ago before we went live. I think obviously they stopped playing the music, and I think they played just the what I can't remember what the song's called, but it's fucking everywhere, and it was like the song for the show and like War Games. But they obviously had that going.
Oh,
but
right.
After everything was like everyone was
Black
leaving.
Sabbath song. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's called War Pigs.
Punk left, and then came back out for another pop, and then ran back.
Yeah.
Someone got a clip of that, which was quite funny. But yeah.
And obviously,
that was crazy.
After the show, McIntyre stormed out.
And
but
that was before Punk came out, actually.
That was before, yeah. He was holding his hand to his face. I imagine it's probably the frustration of the loss again. It's probably going to send him further on a heel spiral.
There's not, though there isn't really confirmation of that that's a work or not. There was confirmation of that the Seth one was a work.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, they're definitely going to do they're definitely doing Seth versus Punk at Mania. I'm almost certain of it.
You got to see that, surely. Yeah.
Also, imagine the symbolism, because in AEW he was calling himself the real world's champion, right? The funny thing is that when Ric Flair was doing that in '91, he had the big gold belt, and Seth's World Heavyweight Championship is basically the big gold belt.
Mm-hmm.
That would bring that full circle.
Just have Punk win, and then just to spray an X on it.
Oh, dude! If he sprayed an X on the big gold belt, that would be so good. And then he can imagine if I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but imagine if he claimed to be the real world's champion, and then that's when he fused with Roman Reigns.
Oh my Jesus Christ! I don't think they are going to do that, but fucking hell, imagine.
Yeah, because they're probably going to have Cody beat Roman at Mania, aren't they?
Yeah.
You'd hope so. Unless they want to have Roman Reigns beat Hulk Hogan's.
At this point, I'm just going to predict that Roman's going to win every Mania until he retires.
Do they want to imagine? Imagine if they actually had him beat the Bruno record. That would be like stupid.
How far away is he? He's like what, like another 4 years away from that?
We're almost 3.5 years in, right?
Yeah, and he hold it for 7.5
years.
Yeah, so we're not even halfway.
Yeah, not
If
even
that
halfway.
is the case.
I
Jesus.
genuinely think that would be a terrible idea.
It would generally be awful. That's not until WrestleMania like 35 or 45, sorry.
45, yeah. CM Punk's contract
Yeah.
would have expired by that point. One of my favorite reactions I saw online was someone freaked out at the CM Punk return, and at the end of that clip, they turned to the camera and said, "I give it 8 months."
Yeah. That's what everyone is thinking, pretty much.
Yep.
How long is this going to last?
Because there's people in that company that do not like CM Punk.
And oh yeah. I imagine he'll probably stay on Raw because I feel like Raw is so like suited more to Punk in some ways. To me, at least this version of Punk.
Yeah, the
know.
the SmackDown Punk was when he feuded with Hardy and when he had the Straight Edge Society. That was a little sidestep, but you are right in saying that the cult of personality CM Punk is a Raw guy.
Yeah.
I remember actually.
Yeah.
It's a very low key moment, but I remember the week when it's so funny to think about now because they literally just did this in real life with AEW, how Edge and CM Punk are like passing ships in the night. But back in 2010, Raw and SmackDown did a trade where Edge went to SmackDown and CM Punk went to Raw.
That's crazy.
And because Edge had that moment where he like threw the anonymous GM laptop on the floor because he was so frustrated, and he went to SmackDown and he beat Kane for the belt. And then CM Punk went to Raw and he was part of the bragging rights team. Then he got injured and he was on commentary, and that's when the sort of the rise of his like that sort of the fuel for the pipe bomb started was when he went to Raw, because it was the him on commentary like I'm even the best at commentary. Cena spills his diet soda. He comes back to the ring with the new Nexus. That angle happens, and then you get Money in the Bank when his contract expires. It's so interesting to think about that historically, that a CM Punk Edge trade not only ended Edge's career, but it made CM Punk's career. And then now you got Edge going to AEW and CM Punk coming back to WWE. It's fucking crazy. It's so strange.
Yeah. Really a one segment show.
Oh yeah. I mean, there was some really good stuff on the show that wasn't to do with Punk, though. I will say the Drew McIntyre stuff was really well done.
Yeah, the Extreme Rules of 2023.
Yeah. Oh, rest in peace.
All right. Yeah. I'm looking forward to Raw. That's for sure.
It's just going to be so weird seeing CM Punk in WWE.
I mean, he has to open the show. Like, yeah, he has to. If you don't open the show with Punk, it's gonna be strange.
What I really like symbolically about the fact, I imagine they may have done this because possibly AEW owns the license for the original version, so that might be why they've re-recorded it. But symbolically, and this may be unintentional, I like the fact that Living Colour re-recorded the song as Old Men when CM Punk comes back to WWE to have his Old Man run. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. WWE have tweeted like 25 minutes ago, I'm sending you in Discord, but it's literally just like, CM Punk will be there on Raw. Will you? Tickets on sale now.
Yes, they like CM Punk and Randy Orton return on Raw. Buy tickets now.
But like they tweeted a new one with this graphic is just weird. I've sent it to you in the Discord chat. This graphic is just so weird. This is so weird.
Isn't that 2013 Punk?
I think yeah. Oh yeah, this is definitely old Punk.
That looks like when he was feuding with Undertaker. That Punk. Or just slightly before it. Yeah.
This was definitely an old render of Punk.
Oh, the fuck!
That they have in the
It's
files.
so weird because like a year, wasn't it like a year ago he visited Raw?
No, it was this year.
Oh no, it was this year. It was earlier this year. He visited Raw.
It was early this year. It was July.
And Vince was in the building, and he told him to get out.
Yeah, he went to go and like reconcile with trips, legitimately.
Yeah, and then they did, and there's a photo of them doing the Triple H point at each other, and it's fucking hilarious.
So weird. Oh my god, Tony Khan just done a fucking finger point with someone else.
Oh, Jesus.
I'll send you that as well. I don't think this is intentional, but it's so fucking funny thinking about it.
It probably is
Bloody hell,
intentional.
what a fucking wild world we live in. See what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, Jesus, that must be awkward for Tony Khan. Seeing that. But it's so weird because I bet there's going to be memes soon about this, but like you go back to Survivor Series, the symbolism of it. You go back to Survivor Series 2006, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but was that in the same building? Let me just look this up. Survivor Series
are very iconic for Punk.
I don't think it will be in the same building because WrestleMania was in that building that year. But I know that Punk was really over. Let me see. It was in Philadelphia. Okay, so it's the building of the 2015 Royal Rumble, I think. But anyway, on that show, CM Punk was on Triple H's team. And CM Punk was more over than DX, despite the fact that he just debuted on ECW.
Oh, yeah.
And Triple H had to get some of that rub off CM Punk. And then he allowed CM Punk to do the "Are you ready?"
Yeah, he was like, I literally, the clip is in front of me right now, coincidentally on Twitter, and he's like, and that shouting someone, he's like, "Me, that's me."
Yeah. And
Are you ready?
Yeah. Like Triple H was so confused at the time. He's just like, who the fuck is this guy? Why is he so popular? But now Triple H is offering him millions of dollars to be in his company. So it's funny how things turn out. But yeah, what a wild time we're in with this.
What a timeline.
The one comment we have, great, another Joshi mark. Well, I don't see what the issue is here. Japanese women are really good at wrestling. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, they are. Seemingly, yeah.
Did go if you want to see something really funny, go watch Maki Ito versus Matt Cardona, because she kicked his ass. Anyway, yeah, well, I don't know what else to say. Not only
what again? Yeah,
not only was I buzzing that CM Punk came back to WWE, which seemed like the most unlikely thing, but in that moment I simultaneously realized, oh shit, I've also retained the title. Because if that didn't happen, I think you would have won it.
Oh yeah, I would have won.
Yeah, and I was so smug because I remember on the predictions you said, no fucking way he's going to be on this show. There's no way.
I didn't think it. Yeah, exactly. I literally thought there was zero chance.
And it was the same thing you said about All In when you said there's no fucking way they're winning the belts like Adam Cole and MJF with the ROH tag belts. There's no fucking way.
I was more confident on this.
Yeah, and you were wrong again.
I genuinely thought there was no chance he was on this show.
Yeah, well, they just did a really good job of keeping it a secret.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Seemingly lied to their own staff. But to be honest, like, do they really? It's
understandable
need to know?
Why.
Do they really need to know?
No.
How often? Do we get? And obviously, it's not just Punk. Like the R-Truth secret was genuinely a secret as well. No one reported it, but. How often do we get this in wrestling when no one actually knows for sure what's going to happen? In the age of leaks and spoilers and shit, like we don't actually know what's going to happen, and that's interesting. I like that a lot. I like when we don't actually, and it gave me that same feeling of at the end of Wrestle Dream, I think it was. There were rumors about Edge going to AEW, but no one really knew for sure that it was going to happen. And then when he turned up, it was a massive moment. And I like that. I like the element of not actually being able to predict the surprises. Because, you know, it's like, it's not... Unpredictability is not the be-all and end-all, but when you have something like wrestling where unpredictability can be used in such a productive way, it makes for a great product when you are able to keep those secrets from your audience. Like, I remember when the 2013 Royal Rumble, when Ziggler came out at number 1 and cut that promo, and then Jericho's music hit, and literally no one knew that was going to happen. There was no reports, there was nothing. He just turned up, and it was great.
Yeah, what a day. What
Yeah,
a day. What a last 24 hours.
Yep. Did David Tennant and CM Punk about in the same day? My childhood is being played before my eyes.
I tweeted like that morning, like today could be very special. Still not even believing that Punk was going to come back, and then I quoted it was.
You know what's crazy is that CM Punk left WWE like 3 months after the Day of the Doctor. That's That's weird to think about, isn't it? The timeline of all that.
That's yeah. And
here we are, 10 years later, and he's back.
Crazy.
Yep.
What a day.
Yeah, absolutely mad.
Now we're on the road to Royal Rumble now.
Yep. And this channel in, let's see, 1, 2, 3...
5 days.
4 days.
Yeah, 4 or 5 days.
In 4 days' time, the advent calendar starts. So look forward to that. Yeah. And I guess in terms of wrestling, the next big show is World's End, isn't it?
Yeah, that'll be end of year stuff.
Mm-hmm. They had an ad on this show about something like the WWE experience in Saudi Arabia. I don't know what that's about. Is that like some kind of walk-in
That
thing?
was something they announced at Crown Jewel, and it was I think it was very much laughed at, I remember.
Right.
But
yeah, the next big show is World's End for AW, and then after that, I believe it's the Royal Rumble.
Yep, crazy.
Man, imagine if Kane eliminates CM Punk again 10 years later.
And he leaves again. They just fucking with us.
Yeah. Crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if they have him come out at number 1 again. For symbolism.
Possibly, maybe.
Although, do they want to have him go for an hour?
No, probably not.
Yeah. Before we end, I just want to say, like, fantasy booking some matches that you haven't seen CM Punk have. To look forward to. I think obviously Seth. I mean, Kevin Owens is probably a big one. Roman Reigns now will be huge.
Yeah. There's a lot of story potential with that.
Yeah. I think that there's plenty of. I mean, some of the CM Punk versus Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre. Yeah. What else? What else is there?
With Cody and Roman, I think are the most intriguing narrative-wise.
CM Punk versus Cody,
and Rollins, of course. Yeah. Heel Punk versus face Cody is something I'd be very interested in seeing
down the road. I think
because you could like play on the fact that they both kind of did the same thing in terms of leaving and going back on their words.
What about CM Punk versus Gunther? That could be interesting.
That would be fun. I think that would be fun. I think because Punk is way more narrative focused than Gunther is in certain aspects, I think I'd prefer Punk facing all the other people I've mentioned.
It's probably a bit of a clash, isn't it?
A little bit.
As a match, though, it could be interesting.
I'd be down for seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential actually. I'm sort of blanking on the roster.
Yeah. Obviously, you got like Jey Uso, you got Damian Priest. You got LA Knight.
Yeah. AJ Styles
would be fucking great. AJ Styles.
I know that AJ Styles does not like CM Punk, but I think he would work with him if Triple H wanted it, and the fans wanted it. but that is a match that hasn't happened. They have history in TNA as well, and Ring of Honor. Like, there's a lot there. CM Punk vs AJ Styles. That's fascinating. But I think the immediate one though is Punk versus Seth Rollins.
That in terms of building to the Mania, yeah.
Yep.
I think the sooner they turn Punk heel, I think the better.
Oh yeah. Or even
because Collision Punk never felt like a proper heel.
It was more of a tweener, I think.
Yeah. So we're gonna have a comparisons of first dance promo Punk, episode 1 Collision Punk, and first Raw back Punk.
There's also, let's not forget, I know it was only 2 weeks, and that was really disappointing because it was only 2 weeks, but when CM Punk debuted Cult of Personality, when he came back after Money in the Bank, was quite a big moment too. Different circumstances, but it was a big return.
Yeah. But yeah, comparing those 3 I've listed is going to be very interesting.
They're all quite different.
They're all very different in terms of the wrestling landscape.
Just from a personal perspective, the most emotional one for me was First Dance. Like that wait from 2014 to 2021 was huge.
Nothing will beat that in terms of just the sheer emotional weight behind it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it is also
the Collision promo I really like a lot.
The one we forgot to mention was his return on WWE Backstage in 2019 after his UFC run ended.
I'll see you next week,
and I'll change the culture. And then bloody oh shit, we're probably going to get CM Punk versus The Miz at some point, aren't we?
That'd be very strange.
Imagine if we got CM Punk versus The Miz in Saudi Arabia. That would be
like that was referenced. I feel like that was referenced on the Wrestle podcast today.
Yeah. Because The Miz was just like, sorry I didn't change the culture. And then Punk's like, go suck a blood muddy dick in Saudi Arabia, you fucking dork. I will say, obviously the pop was huge, but before he came out, it wasn't as loud, but the CM Punk chanting with the booing over him was quite similar to the Collision run, I remember.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know if we're ever going to recapture that atmosphere like from the Collision run. That was just something very unique.
Yeah, that first episode of Collision to All In.
Yeah, when he came out, when he came out for the Kojima match at Forbidden Door, the crowd fucking exploded at him.
Dude, he wrestled this year Forbidden Door, All In, is now in WWE. What the fuck? The Kojima Lariat shit was this year. It was this summer.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
How many people can say that? They wrestled Satoshi Kojima, and they wrestled in Wembley Stadium, and they returned to WWE. He got
elbow dropped on his fucking balls.
Oh, that's right. God.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, I mean, this
choked out Jack Perry, and then the next time we see him is bloody in WWE. What the fuck?
These moments, like with Edge at Wrestle Dream and CM Punk at Survivor Series, this is the kind of buzz that was going around during the Monday Night Wars. You know, back when it was Nitro versus Raw. It was like this all the time. Like when, you know, Lex Luger turned up on Nitro, or like when X-Pac turned up on Raw after WrestleMania. Like, it's this kind of thing that makes wrestling so fun to watch.
The fact, you know, it's like, this was so massive that my brother, who doesn't watch wrestling anymore since like 2017, knew that this happened.
Oh, and the best thing that's going to come out of this was the fact that Ryback said if CM Punk returns to the show, he's going to retire from wrestling.
Now that is the real win of the weekend.
That Ryback's retired.
It was all worth it just for that.
Yep.
I guess I'm dumb as fuck.
I'm sorry. Yep. Anyway, place your bets on how long before CM Punk throws another fit. We get another controversy. I thought it was absolutely hilarious because after Brawl Out, people were asking WWE officials what they thought of what AEW was dealing with there, and WWE said something like, "Oh, well, he's their problem now," which is so funny because now CM Punk's back. CM Punk's back to the company that said that about him. It's kind of funny though how Triple H says, 10 years is a long time. He's changed, I've changed, the company's changed, but it's like literally a year ago they were talking shit about each other. Like when Sasha and Naomi walked down on the company, Punk was saying, "Yeah, nothing's changed though. Not even with Triple H taking over, they're still the same."
Yeah. I think it's the way I just best put it is wrestling is way more interesting with Punk in it than without.
100%.
There's this, yeah, it's you can't help it.
Yeah, he just is this. There's just something about him. There's this magic to CM Punk. The Wrestle Talk reaction, the get together they did, that was awesome.
Tempest lost his fucking mind.
Yeah, I think it was kind of sad that you weren't at that one. That was like one of the only ones
that's
you haven't gone to.
the one I missed. It was always the risk that you. I just generally I would have been fucking knackered if I went. Honestly,
it was too late at night, but yeah. Oh,
I will definitely be going to the Rumble though.
Oh yeah. But like yeah, Tempest and Pete like marked out, and then I loved Dan Layton's commentary over that moment.
Oh, Dan was great.
That was like iconic commentary. I was like, holy shit.
It was like I said, when they always put those headset ons, they're more wanting to commentate on the actual match. It's just weird.
Yeah, it's less distracted, but yeah, so interesting. And it's sad that Ollie Davis didn't get to be there for that one.
Well, it's quite funny he talked about it. He didn't have, in terms of reactions, of course he reacted to it because it's CM Punk returning, but he didn't have that emotional burst that he did on the first time round.
Yeah, because it's a different circumstance. Like if this had happened without the AEW run, I think it would have been even huge.
Oh, absolutely, it'd be the same as how we reacted to the AEW return. Maybe that little bit more, like in disbelief.
Imagine if, obviously, I would never want to get rid of the AEW run because it was amazing. But imagine if it didn't happen. There was no reports, no rumors, and just suddenly out of nowhere in Chicago, that music hits.
Like kind of crazy.
I think we would just all have collective heart attacks, to be honest. I mean, even earlier this year, Money in the Bank, when Cena just turned up in London with no announcement, that was quite shocking as well.
Yeah.
Man, what a crazy time we're in. All right, shall we wrap this up?
I guess so.
All right. Well,
crazy.
I bid you a good night and a goodbye.